Welcome back. In today's electrifying episode, we're exploring the fascinating world of Australian 50-cent coins, and more specifically, the top 5 most valuable and expensive 50-cent coins ever released. These coins are not just spare change. They're rare gems from different eras that are causing a stir in the current collector's market. Whether they were minted decades ago or during more recent commemorative releases, their high value, unique stories, and stunning features make them truly prized possessions. If you've ever wondered whether that 12-sided coin sitting in your drawer could be worth big money, today, you might just find out. So grab your magnifying glass, pull out your coin stash, and get ready to uncover treasures you never knew you had. Let's get started. First up, the 1975 Australian 50-cent coin, especially in red dirty circulated condition, may not dazzle at first glance. But don't be fooled. Beneath its worn surface lies a world of detail, heritage, and possibly a fortune waiting to be uncovered. This is the kind of coin that has quietly slipped through hands for nearly half a century, weathered the decades, and still stands as a powerful symbol of Australia's post-decimal era. And for the clever collector or lucky finder, it could be the one coin that transforms spare change into treasure. Let's journey back to 1975, an era of transformation and bold new steps for Australia. Gough Whitlam's leadership had stirred both admiration and controversy, and the nation was finding its voice, independent and proud. Amid this evolving social and political landscape, the Royal Australian Mint continued its work, producing coins that weren't just currency, but cultural artifacts. The 1975 50-cent coin, though part of the regular issue, now carries a unique weight for collectors. With nearly 5 decades behind it, every surviving example tells a tale, not just of Australia's economy, but of its endurance. The design of the coin is one of Australia's most recognized and celebrated. On the reverse, we see the powerful and elegant Australian coat of arms, a design first introduced in 1966 by renowned artist and metal sculptor Stuart Devlin. Dominating the center is the national shield, which proudly displays the symbols of all 6 Australian states. Flanking it are the 2 great animals of the continent, the kangaroo and the emu, chosen specifically because neither animal walks backward, symbolizing a nation always moving forward. Above the shield is the 7-pointed Commonwealth star, and the entire composition is framed by a flowing ribbon. Even in red dirty or heavily circulated condition, the overall composition of this coin still carries a majesty that reflects Australia's unity and character. Flip the coin, and you're greeted by the obverse, the iconic portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, sculpted by Arnold Machin. Her profile, with the tiara gently resting upon her head, represents the calm and enduring presence of the monarchy. Surrounding her image are the words Elizabeth II Australia 1975. In excellent coins, her features are sharply defined. But even in red, stained, or dirty coins, her outline remains, a testament to the durability and strength of the Royal Mint's craftsmanship. The specifications of the coin are as impressive as its design. Like other 50-cent pieces of its era, the 1975 version was struck in copper-nickel, a strong, corrosion-resistant alloy composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel. The coin weighs a substantial 15.55 grams, and has a diameter of 31.65 millimeters. But what makes it unmistakable is its 12-sided dodecagonal shape, a unique and elegant silhouette that gives the coin not just character, but a physical edge, literally. This shape makes the coin instantly recognizable in any collection and gives it an almost jewel-like presence, even when tarnished or worn. So, what about its rarity and value? The Royal Australian Mint produced approximately 10 million 50-cent coins in 1975. While that number may seem high, most of these coins were circulated heavily and have suffered significant wear and corrosion. Today, finding examples in pristine or even very fine condition is increasingly difficult. However, even in red dirty circulated condition, collectors value these coins for their age, history, and unique aging characteristics. Red-tone coins are especially interesting, as environmental factors like soil, air exposure, or heat have caused copper oxidation, giving the coin a reddish patina, something that intrigues collectors who specialize in toning or natural environmental effects. In terms of current market value, The 1975 50-cent coin in standard circulated condition typically fetches between $1 and $4 Australian, depending on the level of detail retained. However, coins in very fine to extremely fine condition can range from $10 to $25. Uncirculated examples, especially those with original mint luster, are much more scarce and can sell for $60 to over $100 Australian, especially if slabbed and graded by a professional coin certification service. The real jackpot, however, lies in error coins, and a few 1975 specimens have surfaced with off-center strikes, die cracks, or clipped planchets. These rare anomalies have fetched anywhere from $200 to over $1,000 Australian, especially if verified by numismatic experts. The demand for pre-1980 Australian decimal coins is on the rise. With Queen Elizabeth II's passing, her earlier portraits are gaining historical and emotional significance. Collectors are racing to secure full-date sets of her reign, and coins like the 1975 50-cent piece are vital links in that timeline. Even red or dirty coins are being cleaned professionally, regraded, and added to collector albums with pride. Social media groups, auction houses, and online forums are buzzing with trades and appraisals of old decimal coins. As more Australians and international collectors recognize the artistic and historical worth of these coins, their values are only expected to rise. So, what does that mean for the average person? Someone who stumbles upon a 1975 50-cent coin with a reddish tint or some dirt caked into its grooves. It means you're holding a piece of legacy, a coin that has survived the better part of a century, a coin that collectors will soon be fighting to own, as mint examples dry up and aged specimens tell their unique stories through color and wear. It may not look like a treasure at first glance, but it's exactly the kind of sleeper coin that builds wealth quietly, waiting for someone with the right eye to recognize its potential. In a world obsessed with digital money and fleeting investments, the 1975 Australian 50-cent coin, even in red dirty condition, reminds us of something real, something tangible, something with history pressed into metal and value layered beneath every scratch and smudge. It's a coin that proves, sometimes, the fortune isn't in the flashiest piece. It's in the one that's been through it all, yet remains. And that, my friend, might just make it the coin that turns your pocket change into a millionaire's dream. Next up, the 1979 Australian 50-cent coin, often overlooked and forgotten in drawers or old piggy banks. This coin in circulated condition might just be your golden ticket. Because when collectors, historians, and investors turn their eyes back to the coins of Australia's rich numismatic past, the 1979 50-cent stands out not for its rarity alone, but for its symbolic power, historical presence, and rising demand in today's collector market. Let's first travel back to the late 1970s, a period of shifting tides in Australian society. Economic transitions, political realignments, and technological advancements were shaping a new national identity. It was a time when coins weren't just currency. They were artifacts of the everyday, carriers of heritage, art, and pride. The Royal Australian Mint, in keeping with its long-standing dedication to quality and detail, continued issuing coins that would later become cultural icons. Among them was the 1979 50-cent piece, a coin that carried forward the legacy of design and purpose that had been established since the decimal revolution of 1966. Now let's talk design, because this coin is nothing short of majestic. On the reverse, we find one of the most iconic emblems of Australia, the Commonwealth coat of arms, a design executed by master jeweler Stuart Devlin. This powerful composition features the Shield of Australia in the center, representing the 6 states of the Commonwealth. Standing proudly on either side are 2 animals deeply embedded in the country's identity, the kangaroo and the emu. These creatures, known for their inability to move backwards easily, symbolize a nation that only moves forward. Above them sits the Commonwealth Star, with its 7 points representing both the states and territories of the Federation. The intricate details, the fur of the kangaroo, the feathers of the emu, the finely drawn patterns of the shield, are still visible, even in coins that have circulated for over 40 years. That's the mark of exceptional craftsmanship. The obverse of the coin presents the regal portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machin, one of the most recognized coin portraitists of the 20th century. Her effigy, facing right, is crowned with the girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara. Surrounding her likeness are the inscriptions Elizabeth II, Australia, 1979. In circulated coins, the details might show wear, perhaps some fading in the high points of her hair or smoothing along the edges, but her image remains unmistakably royal and dignified. Now onto the specifications, which are both distinctive and enduring. Like its 50-cent predecessors since 1969, the 1979 version is struck in copper-nickel, a sturdy alloy of 75% copper and 25% nickel. It weighs 15.55 grams, has a diameter of 31.65 millimeters, and features the iconic dodecagonal, 12-sided, shape, making it easy to distinguish by both touch and sight. This shape not only gives the coin a unique aesthetic, but also prevents it from rolling, making it as practical as it is beautiful. The thickness and shape allow the coin to endure the harshness of circulation, making high-grade survivors even more prized. So now we come to the heart of the matter, value. How much is this humble yet powerful coin worth in today's market? Well, the 1979 50-cent coin had a mintage of approximately 21.6 million, making it a reasonably common issue. However, most were used daily and have worn down with time. In average circulated condition, this coin typically trades for around $1 to $2 depending on the visibility of its design elements. But as we climb the ladder of condition, entering very fine, extremely fine, or uncirculated grades, the value rises significantly. A well-preserved coin with sharp detail and minimal wear can sell for $10 to $25, while mint-state examples, especially those graded MS63 or higher, may command $50 to $100 or more at auctions or through specialist dealers. Even more exciting are the error coins from this era. Although no major errors are widely known for the 1979 50-cent issue, collectors have reported specimens with off-center strikes, double obverse, die cracks, and clipped planchets. These anomalies can turn a common coin into a rare collectible, with values stretching into the hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on severity and eye appeal. Coin collectors hunt these errors passionately, and finding one in your change drawer could be the kind of discovery that changes your life. Another aspect fueling demand is the global interest in Queen Elizabeth II-era coins. Since her passing in 2022, the value of coins bearing her portrait has seen significant appreciation. Collectors across the Commonwealth and around the world are building tribute sets, and coins from the 1970s are in high demand. Even a coin in red-toned, oxidized, or lightly corroded condition can be of interest to coin collectors, who admire the natural patina that time and environment have given these pieces. So what does this mean for you? It means that if you've got a 1979 Australian 50-cent coin tucked away in a coin jar, purse, or old drawer, even in circulated condition, you could be holding more than just metal. You could be holding a slice of history, a piece of Australia's national identity, and yes, a potential entry point into a fast-growing collector's market. Whether you decide to clean it up, have it graded, or tuck it safely into a coin album, one thing is clear. This coin's value is only set to rise as time moves forward. Collectors today understand one crucial thing. Rarity is no longer just about low mintage, it's about high survival quality. And when it comes to pre-1980 decimal coins, survivors in clean circulated condition or better are becoming harder to come by. As demand climbs and supply shrinks, the 1979 50-cent coin may well become one of the sleeper coins of the decade. Quiet, unassuming, but with all the potential to deliver massive returns for those who held on. So take another look through your coins. Inspect those old tins and dusty wallets. Because in a world full of fleeting trends, sometimes it's the old, worn, and quietly surviving coins like the 1979 Australian 50 cent that end up delivering millionaire magic. And who knows, your red, worn-out coin just might be worth far more than 50 cents. Next up, the 1984 Australian 50-cent coin. Especially in very fine condition, this coin might appear common to the untrained eye, but delve deeper and you'll discover that it may very well be a sleeping giant. one that could turn 50 cents into a fortune for those wise enough to recognize its hidden brilliance. Let's rewind the clock to 1984, a year marked by cultural momentum and economic transformation in Australia. Bob Hawke was Prime Minister, the dollar coin was about to be introduced the following year, and the country was modernizing rapidly. But in the midst of all this change, the Royal Australian Mint continued to uphold its commitment to tradition, history, and excellence by producing yet another batch of stunning 50-cent pieces. The 1984 issue, while part of a standard circulation release, now commands fresh attention due to rising collector demand, its historical importance, and the increasing difficulty of finding high-quality examples after 4 decades in circulation. The design of this coin is instantly recognizable, forming part of one of the most iconic and timeless series in Australian currency. On the reverse, we find the distinguished Australian coat of arms, brought to life by the masterful hand of Stuart Devlin, Australia's official coin designer during the decimal era. At its core is the national shield, proudly displaying the emblems of Australia's 6 states. On either side, the vigilant kangaroo and emu, Australia's national guardians, stand tall and purposeful. These animals weren't chosen at random. They were selected specifically because they cannot walk backward, a symbol of a country always moving forward. Above the shield rests the 7-pointed Commonwealth star, while a flowing ribbon adds a flourish of elegance to the base. In very fine condition, the reverse detail still shines. Fur, feathers, and shield elements remain clear and expressive, showcasing the coin's robust design and the mint's enduring legacy. Turn to the obverse, and you're greeted by the elegant profile of Queen Elizabeth II, sculpted by Arnold Machin. Her depiction, crowned, graceful, and timeless, is surrounded by the inscription Elizabeth II Australia 1984. In coins that have held up well over time, her facial features, the fine lines of her hair, and the subtle glint of the tiara remain remarkably intact. Even in circulated coins, this side of the coin retains its charm, a reflection of both artistic mastery and material strength. Let's talk specifications, because the 1984 50-cent coin isn't just beautiful, it's physically impressive. Like its 50-cent siblings minted since 1969, it boasts a unique 12-sided, dodecagonal shape that immediately sets it apart. The coin is struck from a durable copper-nickel alloy, 75% copper and 25% nickel, weighs a solid 15.55 grams, and measures 31.65 millimeters in diameter. This gives it not just visual distinctiveness, but also a reassuring heft that collectors love. The raised edges and flat faces of the dodecagon not only resist wear, but also protect the coin's central artwork over time, making very fine specimens more visually impressive and more collectible. Now, onto the most exciting part, value and collector demand. The Royal Australian Mint struck approximately 27.8 million of the 1984 50-cent coins, making it a fairly large mintage. But here's where things get interesting. Very few of these coins have survived in excellent or even very fine condition. Decades of circulation have taken their toll, and most surviving examples show extensive wear, corrosion, or damage. That makes coins in very fine condition or better increasingly scarce, and with Australia's coin collecting community growing every year, especially after Queen Elizabeth II's passing, the demand for coins from her era has surged dramatically. In today's market, a 1984 50-cent coin in average circulated condition is generally worth around $1 to $2 AUD. However, in very fine condition, the coin can command $5 to $10 Australian dollars from collectors looking to complete their decimal sets with higher-grade pieces. If the coin approaches extremely fine or uncirculated condition, its value can climb to $20 to $50 Australian dollars, particularly if it retains sharp edge definition and full design clarity. And when graded and slabbed by a professional service like PCGS or NGC, coins in mint state, MS63 or higher, can exceed 100 Australian dollars, especially if they display original luster and minimal contact marks. But that's not all. Error coins from this period add an entirely new dimension to the 1984 50 cents potential. Collectors have reported examples with die cracks, cuds, off-center strikes, and double obverse. These rare anomalies can turn a standard issue into a high-dollar collectible, with error versions of this coin reaching prices from $200 to over 1,000 Australian dollars, depending on the uniqueness and severity of the minting flaw. These are the jackpot pieces that collectors dream of, and yes, they are still being discovered today, often in coin jars, secondhand shops, or among inherited coin stashes. Adding to the coin's mystique is the growing international interest in Commonwealth coinage. Queen Elizabeth II's long reign, now completed, has turned every coin bearing her portrait into a historic artifact. Collectors from Canada, New Zealand, the UK, and even the United States are beginning to acquire Australian coins for complete monarch collections. This has caused an invisible wave of demand that's subtly but steadily increasing the prices of mid-era decimal coins like the 1984 50 cent. So where does that leave you? If you've come across a 1984 Australian 50 cent coin in very fine condition, especially one with good luster and intact details, you could be holding much more than pocket change. You're holding a piece of history, one that carries the marks of an era and the potential for serious return. And even if your coin shows signs of age, discoloration, or minor wear, its story still adds to its value, especially for collectors who seek coins with character and provenance. The 1984 50 cent coin may not have been minted for royalty or to commemorate a centennial event, but it has earned its status as a cornerstone of Australia's coin heritage. Its weight, design, and historical context make it a favorite among collectors and a rising star in the modern coin market. With its value on the rise, this seemingly ordinary coin might just become the extraordinary find that changes everything. And remember, sometimes it's the coin that blends in the most, the one that hides quietly in your change, that ends up being the key to a collector's fortune. Next up, the 1981 Australian 50 cent coin, a piece that in circulated condition may not look like much, but for those who understand its story, it might just be a hidden treasure worth far more than 50 cents. The year was 1981, a time of shifting cultural identities and technological advancements in Australia. It was the year the first IBM PC launched globally, and here at home, Australians were preparing for the economic trials of the early 1980s. But through the quiet hum of daily life, the Royal Australian Mint continued its enduring tradition, producing coins that weren't just currency, but physical records of Australia's legacy. The 1981 50 cent coin, part of the standard circulation issue, carries more than metal and numbers. It carries the fingerprint of a nation at a pivotal moment. Let's begin with its design, which is as majestic as ever. On the reverse, this coin proudly features the Australian coat of arms, a design masterfully created by the legendary Stuart Devlin, the man responsible for some of the country's most beautiful and iconic coinage. At the center is the national shield, showcasing the symbols of Australia's 6 states. Guarding it are the 2 eternal sentinels of the continent, the kangaroo and the emu. These animals, which cannot walk backward, symbolize progress and strength. Above, the 7-pointed Commonwealth star represents the unity of the Federation. The detail on this side of the coin is astonishing. From the etched feathers of the emu to the sculpted musculature of the kangaroo, it's a miniature piece of national art. Even in circulated condition, this design often survives with striking beauty, and for collectors, that resilience makes it deeply desirable. Flip the coin to the obverse, and you'll see the poised and dignified image of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machin. Her profile, elegant and strong, is framed by the inscription, Elizabeth II Australia 1981. It's the portrait most Australians associate with early decimal coinage, and it's become a cultural symbol in its own right. While years of handling may smooth down the fine details of Her Majesty's hair or facial contours, the core silhouette remains intact in most circulated examples, still commanding respect, still whispering royalty. Now let's dive into the specifications, because there's more to this coin than meets the eye. Like its brothers and sisters minted since 1969, the 1981 50 cent piece was struck in copper-nickel, a tough alloy of 75% copper and 25% nickel, designed to last. It weighs 15.55 grams, measures 31.65 millimeters in diameter, and boasts a distinctive 12-sided, dodecagonal shape. This iconic edge not only gives the coin its unmistakable profile, but also prevents it from rolling away, both a practical and aesthetic feature. The 12-sided shape ensures that even if the coin is discolored or worn, its identity is never mistaken. When it comes to mintage, here's where things get especially interesting. The Royal Australian Mint struck a whopping 49.2 million 50-cent coins in 1981. That may sound like a lot, and it is, but here's the twist. Most of these coins entered heavy circulation. Decades of vending machines, coin jars, and supermarket tills have ground away their finer features. Today, finding a 1981 50-cent coin in very fine or better condition has become surprisingly difficult. In circulated condition, these coins tell a story. They've lived. And because they've survived the wear and tear of 4 decades, they are increasingly sought after by collectors who want coins that have truly earned their character. Let's now talk value. In today's Australian collector market, a 1981 50-cent coin in average circulated condition typically fetches between $1 and $3 Australian, already more than its face value. But coins in very fine condition jump into the $5 to $10 Australian range, especially if details of the coat of arms and Queen's portrait are still prominent. If you're lucky enough to find a coin that's uncirculated, still showing original mint luster and sharp edge detail, its value could rise to $25 to $60 Australian, and professionally graded examples, MS63 or higher, can hit upwards of $100 to $150 Australian in auctions and collector shows. But the real jackpot? That lies in errors and rare die varieties. Some 1981 50-cent coins have surfaced with off-center strikes, die cracks, cut breaks, or planchet flaws. These minting errors can turn a standard coin into a high-value collector piece, often fetching $200 to $1,000 Australian or more, depending on the severity and uniqueness of the error. These are the coins that collectors hunt for, hidden in jars, forgotten in drawers, sometimes passed over at flea markets and garage sales. What's driving this surge in demand? One major factor is the increasing value of Queen Elizabeth II-era coins. Following her passing in 2022, collectors around the world began building legacy collections, seeking coins from every year of her reign. As such, coins from the early 1980s, which bridged the transition between traditional and modern Australian coinage, are suddenly in high demand. Another factor is the growing population of new numismatists, young collectors eager to rediscover the coins of their parents' and grandparents' generations. And here's where you come in. If you've got a 1981 50-cent coin, especially in circulated but decent condition, don't toss it aside. Look at the details. Does the coat of arms still show clarity? Are the letters clean and complete? Is the edge still sharp? You could be holding something that's far more valuable than it seems. And if your coin shows unusual features, off-center designs, misaligned lettering, or odd textures, you might just be staring at a coin that could change your financial fortune. In a world that moves fast, where digital transactions rule, and where the value of things changes by the hour, coins like the 1981 Australian 50-cent piece remind us that some treasures grow more valuable with time. They carry weight, not just in grams, but in meaning, history, and opportunity. And sometimes, the most unassuming coins, faded, tarnished, circulated, turn out to be the ones that make collectors millionaires. Next up, the 1971 Australian 50-cent coin, a coin that has journeyed through decades, pockets, tills, and collectors' hands, and one that still holds immense value, not just in dollars, but in historical and numismatic significance. Let's set the stage. The year was 1971. Australia was still basking in the afterglow of its decimal currency changeover just 5 years earlier. The Royal Australian Mint was well into perfecting its new coin designs, and decimal coins were quickly becoming part of everyday life. But as society marched forward, certain coins began quietly carving out their place in history, including the now celebrated 1971 50-cent piece. Though minted as part of regular circulation, this particular coin has since risen in value, with collectors taking increasing notice of its solid build, artistic design, and historical context. Let's begin with what sets this coin apart: its design. The reverse of the coin features the grand and intricately detailed Australian coat of arms, crafted by the late Stuart Devlin, a master of numismatic design. At the center is a shield adorned with the 6 emblems representing the Australian states. Guarding this national symbol on either side are 2 proud creatures, the kangaroo and the emu, each iconic in their own right and chosen because they cannot walk backwards, symbolizing progress and forward motion. Above it all, the 7-pointed Commonwealth star shines bright, representing the unity between the 6 states and the territories of Australia. Even in circulated condition, many of these coins still retain enough detail to reveal Devlin's artistry, with the shield, feathers, fur, and star remaining visible, though slightly worn from years of passage. On the obverse, we're greeted by the familiar and regal profile of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machin. This portrait was the official effigy used during this era and remains deeply nostalgic for millions of Australians. Her crowned image, facing right, is framed by the legend Elizabeth II, Australia, 1971. In a circulated coin, this side often shows softening around the high points, such as the crown and hair, but the royal image remains unmistakable and dignified. From a technical standpoint, the specifications of the 1971 50-cent coin are what give it lasting strength and character. Made from a durable copper-nickel alloy, 75% copper and 25% nickel, the coin weighs a hefty 15.55 grams and measures 31.65 millimeters across. Its most distinct feature? The 12-sided shape, known as a dodecagon, which gives it a tactile feel and visual uniqueness. This geometry was introduced to distinguish the 50-cent coin from other denominations and has remained a hallmark of Australian coinage ever since. The coin's sturdy metal composition and shape allow it to survive decades of circulation, which is why examples from 1971 are still found in coin jars and collections today. Now, let's talk numbers and the current market value. The mintage for the 1971 50-cent coin was approximately 21.4 million, making it a moderately available year, but not the most common. However, the real story lies in the condition and survivability of these coins. Most have seen hard usage in daily life, grocery tills, petrol stations, and even laundromats. That's why finding a high-grade or lightly circulated 1971 coin today is becoming increasingly rare, and prices are beginning to reflect that. In circulated condition, a 1971 50-cent coin typically sells for $1.50 to $4 depending on its surface clarity and the degree of wear. If the coin shows strong detail on the coat of arms and minimal scratching, its value can easily jump to $5 to $10 in private sales or online platforms. But if you have a coin in very fine to extremely fine condition, collectors are willing to pay $15 to $30, especially if it still shows definition in the Queen's hair and the reverse's intricate lines. But it doesn't end there. Coins in uncirculated or mint state condition, MS63 or higher, can sell for $60 to $120, particularly if graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC. The demand for such coins has been steadily rising, particularly among new collectors assembling Queen Elizabeth II decimal sets. Since the Queen's passing in 2022, coins from earlier decades bearing her image have taken on a new significance. They are no longer just coins, they're part of Commonwealth history. And as interest continues to grow worldwide, prices for even seemingly ordinary coins from the 1970s are starting to see significant spikes. And here's where things get even more exciting: the hunt for error coins. While no major minting error for the 1971 50 cent has reached legendary status, a handful of examples with die cracks, off-center strikes, or clipped planchets have surfaced. These rare variants are highly prized by error collectors and can fetch anywhere from $100 to $500 or more, depending on the severity and uniqueness of the flaw. So next time you spot a coin that seems a little off, take a closer look. You might be staring at a rare gem worth far more than expected. Another factor pushing demand is the coin's age and generational shift. As younger collectors dive into the world of numismatics, coins from the early 1970s are increasingly seen as must-haves, not just for their design, but for their link to a time when Australia was building a new national identity through decimalization. The 1971 coin, sitting just 5 years into the decimal era, carries that nostalgic weight and bridges old tradition with new beginnings. So what does all this mean for you? It means that if you're holding a 1971 50-cent coin in circulated condition, you could be holding a tiny piece of wealth, especially if it's kept clean and preserved. Even more importantly, it might be the beginning of a numismatic journey, one that brings joy, knowledge, and perhaps even unexpected riches. Whether you're a casual observer, a beginner, or a seasoned collector, this humble 1971 piece deserves your attention. Its historical significance, design excellence, and growing demand make it far more than just another coin. It could be your ticket to the world of collectible treasures, or your next millionaire maker. So the next time you hear a dull clink in your change, don't ignore it. Because that 12-sided beauty from 1971, even in circulated condition, could be the start of something big. Sometimes, the coins that look the most ordinary are the ones that hold the greatest secrets.